This mini gratitude episode is part of our larger Thanksgiving special gratitude podcast. To watch or listen to the entire podcast, please watch for its release on Friday, November 25th on YouTube and all podcast platforms. We're grateful to have you as a listener and appreciate every time that you share or like this, as it helps others to find and learn more about the life-changing information and stories that are shared here. Have a great day.
Hey, so I'll just give an example of the latest challenge, per se, that I had with needing to get my attitude kind of adjusted. I knew I wasn't in a state of gratefulness. So about a week ago, a little more than a week ago, I arrived in Mexico to the rental I had gotten from Airbnb. And it was just for a week because I'm going to be here for an extended period of time, and it's a new area. So I got there and immediately it was like, oh my gosh, I have to stay here for a week. How? Oh, this is just so gross. What am I going to do to get things, more livable, more acceptable for my standards? And it was a little difficult. I actually ended up reaching out to a friend who we talk about shifting the energy and how to get more grateful. So it was really great to have her as my touch point and remind me of where my focus needs to be in order to shift this energy. Because I was really overwhelmed. By the time I got there, there'd been delays and blah, 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 blah. So instead of, just sitting back and looking at the roaches and freaking out, I was able to take some action steps that supported me shifting into truly felt gratefulness. And from there, things got a little easier. I found a hammock that was, just different things shifting that was super comfortable, which is really rare for me. And then I started making a few friends, and then I ended up getting a client. And let's see, by the next morning, and that just happened, boom, 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 all in one day. So that was my first day. I actually arrived in the morning because I'd missed the flight, but there was all these different things that set up for these feelings of, I have nothing to be grateful for. What was I thinking? And so I started to shift immediately. And then by the next morning, I hit the ground looking for a better place to stay. And just 2 doors down, the second place I went into was lovely. It was perfect, amazing ocean view, totally pristine, clean, and way less money. And then from there, 2 really big parts of my life. One is the sale of my house back in the States. Bam, buddy, bam, 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 started coming in. And then the other was a former partner relationship that I had been in where things were supposed to get better, and they shifted, not for the worse. They just went a direction that was not what I wanted. And I was able to just let go of all that, and completely unexpectedly. And I believe a huge part of, because I was able to get through some of these hurdles, now that man has come back around and we're having some fabulous communication, and I'm eager to see what the future will hold with all of that. So really good example of how just shifting one part of what was going on. I wasn't even thinking about the house or relationship or any of that when I got my feet on the ground and saw this disgusting situation that I was going to be in, and then started shifting with that, and the immediate sense brought floods and floods and floods of other awesome things. So here I am, feeling like I'm in this light of having been through all of that and living it now on a continuum, and super excited to see what else is going to be coming in. So just a little story. I'm not sure if I should get more into, what I did specifically to shift that. I think the number one thing was just finding the teeniest little thing to be grateful for, the fresh tomato, the beach right outside the door that I can go to, that my Spanish came back pretty quickly, that the sun is amazing, you know, just those little things, but really truly feeling it. You know, in order to shift that strongly, I had to get out of those lighter feelings and go deep with it and really, really allow the connection to happen and the joy to come flooding in. You can't fake it. It's either there or, you know, or not. And yeah, it can be, there's an ebb and flow, but to really allow the grateful for that window, because I did have a decent window. And so to pour how grateful I was into just that window consciously for a few moments, and then shift it to something else, that I'm out of Montana for the winter. Yeah, you know, I might not like the immediate circumstances that I've entered into, but that's not going to last. What is going to last is that I'm truly out of Montana for the winter. You know,
I thank you so much for sharing your story, Leanne, because I think that demonstrates exactly a very real life example of something that happened to you, and you very real life used this practice of gratitude. And it reminds me of something that Rahul said during the other portion of our.
And I think I know what you're going to say. Yeah, say it.
It's this idea that the rote practice, because we've been practicing it, comes back in those moments, and it worked for you.
In terms of manifestation, first you follow that joy and all else comes. I had to find the joy in those very moments, you know, and that's what I did. I was successful in doing that. And then everything started to shift. And, you know, not a week later, those bigger things were really shifting.
That is awesome, Leanne. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for allowing me this space and time to share, and the importance of it. It's truly one of the number one tools you can use to change your life. Gratitude. Thank you.
Now we're going to shift to Rahul, and Rahul, welcome. And we'll just give you the open mic to share.
Okay, cool. Oh my God, it's spotlight. So I will, I was actually sharing this story with Vicki last night. I was on a call yesterday, just to give you a very quick backstory. I have a client who's a fairly sizable, I have a vendor that's a fairly sizable vendor, and they had a data breach. They were intentionally hacked, and this particular client lost about $40,000, just pulled out of their bank account in less than 2 seconds, right? Wow. And a lot of people were affected. A lot of money was stolen, and they were pissed, rightfully so. They were really angry, and because I'm the intermediary, I do have liability, and so they're like, "We're suing you. We're going to sue you. We're going to ruin you." I mean, they were angry. And so I had this call yesterday. I was supposed to meet Vicki and some other folks here for dinner, and I'm like, this is going to be a long call. So I get on the call, and people were yelling, right? Like the bank was there, and the credit card processing company was there, and the vendor was there, and people were screaming, and I was there. And finally, at some point, when I now by this point talked to 2 lawyers who are like, we're going to go after you. And I don't know where it came from. Well, I do know it's because I've had this rote practice, right? And I said, listen, can we all just, before we continue down this road, can we all just say one thing we're grateful for? And they were like, no, what? That's the dumbest thing we've heard of. What are you, high? This is a business call, you know? We know, and a few guys are from Texas, right? So they're like, we know you Californians do weird things out there, but, and I said, listen, I'm the one that has the access to the Zoom, and I'll just hang up the call, and then we can deal with it that way. Or everyone just go through and say one thing they're grateful for. And there was probably like 10 people on the call, right? And I wasn't the last to go or the first to go, but somebody went and started, I'm grateful for my son. This is stupid, next. And that's what he said. And by the end, by the time it went to everybody else, the room had shifted. And we found a equitable solution to a shitty problem, right? Where nobody was sued. We were able to convince the credit card processing company that their insurance could cover part of the loss, and then the vendor that they would cover the other part of the loss if we all signed NDAs so that nobody in the public would know who these companies are. What started as I'm going to sue you for $200,000 ended with an equitable outcome to a solution. And the only thing that shifted it was the gratitude, in my opinion, right? And my attitude of it was, even if this goes sideways and I get slammed with a lawsuit and I have to come back to the US, I'm still grateful that I own my own company, right? I'm grateful that no one's going to fire me from this job, and I still will retain this client. Even in the worst case scenario, I had a lot to be grateful for. So I'm grateful for the attitude of gratitude, and it works in the worst. For me, what I love about it is it works in the worst of situations. It always makes a bad situation a little bit better, if not great.
Thank you again, Rahul, for sharing that. I love that we're getting these real practical ways and from a corporate business meeting perspective where people weren't very open to the idea, but yet you had the courage to bring it in and to make it part of the solution. I think is just a phenomenal example. So thank you for sharing that. And I'm going to welcome Kim to share a little bit about how gratitude has changed for her.
Well, I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach than Rahul did. And I think for me, I'm going to kind of backtrack. So I was really a person who did a lot of negative thinking, a lot of looping. So if I had a conversation and I didn't necessarily like the way it sounded or it went, or I thought somebody was going to think that I was foolish by saying something, or that they were going to question my intelligence or my integrity or something like that, I would fester on that, and it would just eat away at me. And I would think about it all day, and I would think about it all night, and I sometimes couldn't sleep, and I was just stuck in these thoughts all the time, and I couldn't really escape it. So for me, when I had met Vicki, one of the things that she said, one of the very first lessons that she said was write down like 10 affirmations a day. And so for a year and a half now, I've written down 10 to 14 affirmations every day to break out of that negative cycling for me. I think that for me, I had to do that as a precursor to really step into the gratitudes. Because before I could be thankful, like we spoke about earlier, where I could appreciate this moment or this pocket of time, or the fact that somebody opened up the door for me or something like that. But I really struggled diving deeper into that practice and actually having a routine of it until I could break that negative thought cycling for myself. And once I was able to do some of these affirmations, I think I started actually my gratitude practice in, I want to say like January or February, but I actually started doing the affirmations the August before. So it took me probably about 5 or 6 months of doing affirmations, 10 to 14 affirmations every single day. And if I skipped one day because I was out of town or it was a late night or something like that, then the next day I would write 20 affirmations. I would write both days worth. And those were the things that interrupted that negative cycling for me so that I could really dig deeper and actually have gratitude. So I would say if you're on this call and you haven't done any of this types of stuff, but you're kind of interested in it, for me, that was kind of a beginner step or a precursor step. But this conversation has also made me think of several other things, which are, Vicki has this saying that it's this or better. And I really love that attitude too. Sometimes we get stuck into these thoughts of, well, the next step for me is this. And so we think that we have to do X to be happy, or that that's the next natural thing. And sometimes if we allow ourselves to go, well, I want it to be X or better. I want to live by the beach, or something better than that. Maybe there's something that speaks to my soul that's even better than that I don't even realize. That's another kind of mentality that I like to carry with me. And I think that helps me be more appreciative when stuff doesn't work out. Then when our expectation is, well, crap, I thought I was going to live near the beach. No, maybe I didn't really need the beach. Maybe that's not what my soul actually needed. Maybe my soul actually needed the mountains, and I just didn't realize that at this moment of time. But I was so stuck to thinking that that's what I needed that I couldn't see past that.
Wow, Kim, thank you so much for sharing your journey and sharing where you started to get to where you're at today. And it is a great example. And I just want to share here the process that you were talking about is the process in one of my classes called the 5 Keys to Reclaim Your Confidence. And it is that process of learning these daily practices, one of which is affirmations. So thank you, Kim, for sharing that and sharing how powerful of a life-changing practice it is. Thank you for watching this mini episode of our special gratitude podcast. Please consider sharing this with the people you are grateful for. Every like and share helps us to spread love, light, and gratitude all around the world. And make sure and check out the full length episode for all of the other amazing stories and insights that are shared in it. Have a beautiful